On this episode of the Turnbuckle, Sammy Guevara and Andrade El Idolo are not friends. Dan Lambert thought he was getting stale in AEW, so he told Tony Khan that he didn't want to overstay his welcome. Impact's Scott D'Amore explains moving pay-per-views to Fridays and the future on AXS TV. And why the heck is Austin Theory getting booked so bad? Folks, it's time to hit a Van Daminator into some wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. In what is either an elaborate work toward a future storyline or another real-life backstage issue that has come to light, AEW, Sammy Guevara, and Andrade El Idolo took to Twitter Tuesday to engage in a social media war of words. The issues appear to have started with a Spanish-language interview Andrade did on Monday, where he mentioned that the only wrestler he has ever had a problem with is Sammy Guevara. Andrade claimed that Guevara complained he hit him both too hard and too frequently in an unspecified match. Andrade said he told Guevara that it was just wrestling, and if he hit Guevara too hard, he should do the same to him. He said he talked to Guevara without any physical altercation and asked if there was a problem, to which Guevara said there wasn't. So they went on Twitter, right? On Monday night, Guevara tweeted the following, which is assumed to be toward Andrade. "You are a jobber, a favor hire. Be grateful, bitch." So okay, I assumed that this was, now I didn't assume this, okay. I swear to God that I heard somewhere that this was supposed to be guided towards Daniel Garcia because I thought that was the program. I thought that was the program that they were doing. And right now, I have no idea. I have literally no idea. If you want to go in the comments and specify and help me out, that'd be great. I swear to Jeebus that I thought that this was supposed to be for Daniel Garcia and that was supposed to be the program going forward. And Andrade picked it up by accident. And then Sammy was like, well, I mean, it's not meant for you, but if that's the way you want to fucking put it, then fuck you. You know what I'm saying? So he said that. And then on Tuesday morning, Andrade tweeted this towards Guevara in response. "I said it to your face if you had a problem with me and you said nothing. I said it to your face if you had a problem with me and you said nothing. I won't beat your ass because I'm a professional. Don't be scared. When I say something, I name names and I'm not scared to get fired. Hashtag Sammy." Guevara then retorted, denying an altercation took place and then taking shots at Andrade for supposedly wanting to return to WWE. So he quote tweeted and said, "You didn't say shit to me, you liar, but here's some truth, you ungrateful prick. You would be jobless if it wasn't for your dad-in-law, Ric Flair. Are you really mad at me or mad at yourself for failing to get over a second time? Just go back to WWE like we all know you want to and fuck off." Andrade then said he will see Guevara Wednesday and teased another confrontation. "Okay, I'm a liar, laughing emoji. See you on Wednesday. I'll tell you to your face again and nothing you say that you do. And nothing you say that you do not have any problem." Okay. Further adding to this confusion as to the legitimacy of all this is Andrade's on-screen companion, Jose the assistant, confirming Andrade's account of things. "I was there and can confirm this. Quote, incident happened. Andrade El Idolo gave an honest interview about his thoughts on AEW, his upcoming AEW Rampage match with his AEW career on the line, and more. Good thing no one in AEW can translate Spanish to English. Uncensored." I feel like I did not read that. "I was there and can confirm this incident happened. Andrade gave an honest interview about his thoughts on AEW's upcoming Rampage match with his career on the line and more." I feel as though that doesn't have anything to do with the whole argument, but I only like the first line sounds like it has something to do with it. "I was there and could confirm this incident happened." That's about it. And then he was like, "Oh, Andrade talked about his match and everything." That's a whole other can of worms to get in, man. There's so much, man. So I don't. What is going on? What is happening? What is this? I don't even, I don't know what to do. It's like a dodecahedron. I don't know what side to look. What do I do? Why? Okay, you can't even be mad at Andrade because he was like, first of all, I'm not scared. Second of all, I'm going to be honest with you, right? So you can't even respect to Andrade and respect to Sammy. But I don't know why. I don't even know. I don't know what to make of this. I really don't. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know how to really I don't know what to base my thoughts off of because there's just a lot happening, you know? It's Andrade being like, "Oh, don't be a pussy," and then Sammy's being like, "Oh, fuck you," and then it's just a lot of back and forth. It's just a lot of arguing, and The real issue is the fact that it is happening in AEW. That's the real issue. I mean, if it was happening anywhere else, it would be an issue. But it's the fact that we just got over the whole nonsense with the Fallout and All Out, and now we're going into this. Granted, this is not as big of a deal, to be fairly honest with you, but at the same time, this is still, like, an issue, and I feel like I speak for everyone when I say, fucking relax! Can we please cool it? For the love of Lord. I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. I hope this blows over. I hope that they meet each other backstage and they do the thing with that Goldberg and Matt Riddle did, and they just call each other bro every 5 seconds and then they walk off. To be fair with you, I don't even think that hashed it out, to be honest, but man, this isn't good. It doesn't look good for AEW. It certainly doesn't look good for the both of them, no matter how you spin it. This whole thing just doesn't look good, and you want it to be resolved as soon as possible. That's the best thing I can really talk about, to be honest. Next, we're going to talk about Dan Lambert and how he thought he was getting stale in AEW, so he told Tony Khan that he had to skate. So, hold on, sorry, I need to figure out where the heck. The founder of American Top Team was last seen in the promotion managing the Men of the Year up until Scorpio Sky dropped the TNT Championship to Wardlow in July. Lambert appeared on an episode of Insight with Chris Van Vliet, released on Tuesday, and spoke about deciding to step away from the promotion. About maybe 2 months ago, we finished up our feud with the Men of the Year and Scorpio Sky against Wardlow, and Sky dropped the belt to Wardlow. Sky was going to take a couple months off because he had a knee injury that needed to heal, and Page was getting repackaged to doing what he's doing now with the firm and the work with MJF. So, I just thought that was a good time. Seemed like it was winding down. I just felt like I was getting stale even though the reactions were still good. It was still fun. I just grabbed Tony after the show and said, I think it's ran its course. I don't want to go backward or overstay my welcome, so I think that's going to do it for me. And he was like, oh man, sure, whatever you want. If maybe we come up with a good idea, you come back in the future. And then he said, if Tony called me tomorrow and said, hey, I got a good idea, do you want to do it? And it was a good idea, I'd say, sure, why not? So that makes sense. I remember when Dan Lambert was getting heat, and then I remember the transition. I don't remember the actual chronological order of the transition, but I remember the transition. It went from heat to it was like heat, and then it slowly started to shift into go away heat, and then it shifted into like to a pop like every time he came back out. But it was because of the storyline that he was in that everybody liked him more than they liked, well, it was really Brandy that he was feuding with, and I'm so fucking glad that that fucking match did not happen because no one cared, okay? And then it was like a pop, right? And then it kind of like went back into heat again. And he's right. If he had stayed, if he had inserted himself into other storylines, it might have shifted into like, all right, Dan, like what else you got going on, you know? So Dan Lambert is one of the characters on AEW, like Vicky Guerrero, that I feel as though he adds a lot to the roster. He adds a lot to the moment. He adds a lot to the people that he's talking about. He knows how to, and isn't he like in UFC? I swear he's like, he's more on the UFC side. I forget what he does specifically in UFC. I don't think he's an announcer or anything. I think he's something else. But I know he works in UFC. So he knows the intricacies and the ins and outs and the blah, blah, blah about building a match and bigging up the fight and bigging up the fighters and all that sort of stuff. So he knows what he's doing. So that's why it's kind of like, it's very insightful on his part to be like, hey, I'm pretty sure that storyline's done. So, just to make sure that I don't like do anything that, gets me any type of like go away heat, or I start losing my momentum as being like a credible character on the show, I'm gonna skate. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. And it makes sense. And I was really, before we started recording, I don't know what we is, who's we, before I started recording, I was like, I don't know. Okay, how do I approach this? Dan Lambert is a good character, and I'm mildly perturbed that he's not on TV. But it makes sense that he's not on TV because you don't want him to overstay his welcome. But then again, I feel like he is a very good character that you could implement into different storylines. You could have him be with other people. I think that would be great. He could be a manager. He could be a manager for other people. I like the managers back in the 80s because they never stuck to one person, because in reality, that's not what you do. You extend your olive branch to other facets of the, area that you're in. So you don't just have to stick with one person. You don't just have to, like the $1 Million Man. He had like a whole thing going on with everybody. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, I understand where he's coming from, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he should come back and I want him to come back and he should do this. He's right. If there's no storyline for him, if there's no reason for him to be there, then there's no reason that he needs to disrupt his character for any reason. So, Dan, whenever you're ready to come back, my friend, you go ahead and let us know. Next, we're going to be talking about Impact's Scott D'Amore and how he explains moving pay-per-views to Fridays and the future on AXS TV. So he talked a lot, okay? So I'm going to skim through a couple things. I'm not going to talk on everything because we're going to be here for a while. During an episode of JNPO, JNPO? I thought that was a D. JNPO, what is JNPO? Sorry, hold on, let me see. JNPO, Impact Scott D'Amore and Bound for Glory. I don't know what JNPO is. I don't know. Okay, never mind. I thought it was going to give me a thing of the company. Anyway. Released on Tuesday, the Impact VP was asked about the company's recent switch to presenting pay-per-views on Friday nights. It is a busy night, but one of the things is the way people consume content differently. Differently in this day and age. I can't read. You see, sometimes what we think is competition isn't as much competition as we really think, because there are people that are going to watch it. This isn't as much of a live content consuming world as it used to be, D'Amore said. There's great stuff out there on Friday nights, he continued. I'll be totally honest with you, Josh. We might turn around and look at this in a handful of months and go, you know what? Fridays isn't the day to do. There is so much competition on every night of the week out there these days that we went and looked at it and said, you know what? Friday and Saturday are great nights to block for live events. Let's take a look and see how the Friday night pay-per-views do. Friday night is a night that we might look at it and we might find that Friday night people are already in the wrestling group. They might decide that they want to DVR SmackDown and Rampage and watch our show. Or they might want to watch SmackDown and Rampage and DVR our pay-per-view. One thing we've always been, Josh, is open to trying different things. Sometimes you invent Ultimate X and sometimes you come up with the Reverse Battle Royal. Josh Nason asked D'Amore if he feels Impact will remain on AXS TV or move to another network. We're open to exploring anything. I can tell you this. I sit here, I wear a couple of hats. I'm the EVP of Impact Wrestling, and I'm also the EVP of Anthem Sports and Entertainment Sports Media Group, and Impact is such a juggernaut on AXS TV for us. I know it's at times frustrating for fans. It's one of the reasons why we added the show weekly on the YouTube subscription for 99 cents, D'Amore said. We will always look to keep Impact Wrestling as one of the staples of AXS TV, and frankly, our other broadcast networks, both domestically and in Canada, Okay, we will always look to keep Impact Wrestling as one of the staples of AXS TV, and frankly, our other broadcast networks, both domestically and in Canada and such. But we will also look for other growth opportunities. To me, it's a great opportunity to serve two masters. We've got Impact Wrestling, which is so great on AXS TV, especially paired with New Japan. But if we're out there and the right deal pops forward, we would be more than happy to sit in a room and look at a deal with a different network. The other thing is we'll continue to work at other streaming platforms and opportunities. There's a lot of wrestling. There's a lot of it. You got Monday Night Raw. You got Tuesday Night NXT. You got Wednesday Night Dynamite. What else? Isn't there something else on Wednesday? I don't think there is. Then you got Thursday Night Impact. Then you got Friday Night SmackDown and Friday Night Rampage. And now you're more than likely going to have Friday Night Impact as well. And they're going to take this Thursday slot out and they're going to shift it to Friday. And then on Saturday, don't you have Saturday Morning Slam? But isn't that more of a house show thing? Or don't you also have Main Event as well? There's also PWG, CZW. There's also NJPW. What was it? NJPW? Was it like Wrestling Noah as well? There's also fucking GCW. There's so much wrestling. There's so much wrestling. And on one hand, great. If you don't like the Fed, if you don't like AEW, you don't have to watch it. If you don't like Japanese wrestling, you don't have to watch it. If you don't like indie wrestling, you don't have to watch it. If you don't like any of that stuff and you only like Impact, great, you don't have to watch that stuff. But there's so much of it. There's so much, to the point where everywhere you look, you feel like you're getting bombarded by different wrestlers, and this guy won this belt, and this guy got released from here, and that guy went there, and this guy is dead. That's not very funny. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, the point I'm trying to make is there's so much. There's so much going on, and on all different facets. We still have that match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and FTR, and you had the fucking Ric Flair retirement match, and then you had CYN. Like there's you're everywhere. There's wrestling all over the place. This guy here, up, down, left, right, turn around. There's so much wrestling. There's so much. There's so much to look at and to cover and to understand and to really like absorb. There's so much. So I understand that he's trying. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, Impact Wrestling D-list. They are trying. I can't even, if there was ever a time that I went on record and said something about Impact Wrestling in a negative space, I take it back. I take back everything that I said about Impact Wrestling, because it's not fair to them, because there's so much going on in this world, man. There's so much going on, to be honest. There's so much that they are looking at and figuring out and experimenting and taking out and putting in. You can't even be mad at Impact Wrestling. You sure, fine, call them D-list, call them whatever you want, but at the end of the day, fuck. Scott D'Amore is doing everything in his power to at least keep the fucking company afloat. He's doing everything in his power to make sure that the company doesn't go below the line that it already set for itself. You can't even be mad. They went from TNA to Impact to fucking Global Force Wrestling, and then they went back to Impact, and they're still here. They're still here. At any fucking point, they could have been like, you know what, man, this shit isn't working, and they could have shut it down and moved on. And they didn't. So you can't even sit here and yell at Impact and say, oh, you're shit, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you could make the comment that Bobby Fish going to Impact wasn't as, no pun intended, impactful. But fuck, I mean, there was a promotion there that wanted him and knew that right now seemed like the best time to grab him, so they did. So at the end of the day, man, I understand where Scott is coming from in the sense of like there's so much competition, and every single angle that you look at it, so we're trying to experiment, we're going on new days, and if it doesn't work, we could change it back. But who knows? Only time will tell. Finally, why the heck does nobody like, well, okay, WWE got ripped for tearing down Austin Theory with the recent booking. While speaking on the Jim Cornette experience, Jim Cornette talked about Theory's downfall in the company. He criticized WWE for how they have been booking Theory. Austin Theory, what have they done to my boy? Said Cornette. He did a backstage interview, and it was more noticeable here because he's a guy that wants to look at people he's talking to, and wants to as a cocky heel. You could tell he's trying not to look at the camera because they're still telling, for whatever reason, that Vince had in his demented mind. The talent still in a pre-tape backstage with an interview will not look at the camera because Vince didn't like that. This guy was going to be the chosen one. He got the Money in the Bank briefcase. He was Vince's protege. He's a tremendous worker. He's got the physical tools, everything. And now just whatever he did to piss whoever off since Vince has gone, he's a flunky. He's clinging to that Money in the Bank briefcase by a thread, and that is the only thing he's got in his back pocket. And he had that before they started this teardown project. So listen, this is perfect for his character. 100% perfect. You can't have a, that was really loud. You can't have a Superman. You can't. That's not fun. That's not compelling. It's not interesting. Oh, Cena wins. Oh, how's he gonna, oh, he won. Oh, what is Roman gonna do? He won. That's, oh, Hulk Hogan, he won. That's not fun. It doesn't make anything compelling. It doesn't make anything interesting. There's no story there because you know what the outcome is gonna be. I mean, listen, on one hand, especially with AEW, because AEW is guilty of this on many different occasions, you can fucking telegraph what's gonna happen 10 miles down the road. You don't need binoculars or a fucking enhanced zoom. You can tell exactly what's going to happen. He's going to win because he's going to do that. They're going to lose because they're going to do that. He's going to interfere. He's going to say this. You can easily choreograph. It's not hard. On one hand, that's great because everybody wants that to be the case. But on the other hand, we know exactly what's going to happen, so there's no stakes. If they give Brian Cage the TNT title, don't be cowards. Don't be scared that you're going to piss off the AEW hardcores. Don't be scared that you're going to lose money or you're going to lose ticket sales. You're doing that anyway. You're already losing money. You're already losing ticket sales. So there's no reason for you to worry about that. If anything, that should be more reason for you to push the envelope. My brother was talking about Colin Kaepernick and how he wasn't that good of a football player. So the reason why he took most of the reason why he took the knee during the national anthem is because he knew that he wasn't really going to lose much stock in his character already. So that's why he did it. If that is the case, that should be more reason for you to do something as impactful as that. I'm not saying he has to fucking go out there in blackface or some shit, but fuck me. If you know that the ticket sales are low, if you know that like you're on a downward slope, do anything. Do anything. Experiment. If you experiment and it goes wrong, great. That's why it's a fucking experiment. That's the whole point of it. Give Brian Cage the TNT title. Maybe give him the title in, I don't know. This is just going on. I'm just riffing off the top of my head. Maybe give him a fucking storyline. Maybe. Don't have him just wander around the fucking locker room and he's barely in a match, and when he is, you know he's gonna fucking win. Just, like, do something. Do anything. Austin Theory is being booked to lose so that when he wins, it's more impactful. He is developing his character as we are speaking because he keeps losing. This isn't like how Vince... Now, listen. Also, another thing. How much of a fucking hypocrite would Triple H be if he was over the... I'm sure... Because I'm sure he was ripping what's left of his fucking hair out every time one of his fucking NXT buddies would get called up to the main roster and then get treated like a fucking joke. I'm sure he fucking lost his mind at that. So to get upset about that and then to go ahead and then do the same exact thing, that is incredibly hypocritical, incredibly immature, and incredibly irresponsible because it's not Vince's talent anymore, it's yours. So now you're fucking out for no reason and you look like the fucking child in this regard. So maybe I'm just, again, riffing. Maybe don't do that. Just a thought. Which is why I'm not even worried about Austin Theory because I know there's gotta be a reason. There's no fucking way Austin Theory is getting booked like a joke because Triple H wants to, get back at Vince one last time. Shut the fuck. Why? What is that? What purpose does that even serve? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm sure he's losing for a specific reason, and if anything, this is bolstering his character even more. He has more motivation to be a dickhead. He has more motivation to be more aggressive. He has more motivation to win, and when he does win, everyone's going to be like, wow, no, of course no one wants him to win. That's the point of a heel. You don't want the heel to win. You want the heel to keep losing. But if the heel keeps losing, he stops being a heel and he turns into a jobber. And nobody fucking no one believes in him to actually win a match. Which, if anything, is even better because when he does, it fucking blows the roof off of the place. So just give it a little bit of time, right? I'm really talking to Jim Cornette, to be honest with you. Give it a little bit of time and let's see where the story goes. Trust the process. I know how fucking bullshit that is in certain instances, but in this regard, it makes sense. All right? What are we talking about? Andrade and Sammy don't like each other. They need to get over this shit right now. They need to fucking hash this out, shake hands, kiss. I don't care what they do, all right? But they need to fucking relax with this because it's not looking good for AEW. Dan Lambert fucked off because he didn't want anybody to get truly upset with him because he was overstaying his welcome, which makes sense. Hopefully when he does come back, that means that they've got a wonderful storyline in for him. Scott D'Amore is doing everything in his power to keep Impact above the line that they have set for themselves. And you know what, man? Scott, if you're listening to this, don't listen to anybody else, man. Don't bother with what anybody else is talking about. You keep doing your thing, all right? Jeez Louise. And also, just give Austin Theory some time. Just give him some time. Let the story play out, and if he loses the Money in the Bank briefcase, if he cashes it in and then loses, and it's for a dumb reason, like, or if at any point the booking slowly starts to stop making sense, then I will eat my words and I'll take everything back and I'll go, wow, they really did fuck him up for no actual reason other than the fact that he was Vince's protege. But other than that, we have to wait and see what happens. Folks, what am I talking about? Shouts out to everybody who stopped by. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.